Our next presenter is David Stone. Now, David's been a leader within the contact center and customer experience industry for the past 25 years, including time leading teams at Telstra and as an independent consultant. He's currently Vice President at Concentrix, a big outsourcer here in Australia and the world. And I'll tell you what, if there's anything about technology or artificial intelligence that people need to know, David is the man who is always our go-to. So I look forward to hearing David's presentation on the famous 5, the technology enabling efficiency. Over to you, David.
Okay, look, thanks so much. And thanks everyone for this great opportunity to spend some time with you. I really appreciate it. So over the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to talk to you. And I think the question is, well, why am I going to do that? Why are we here? Why are we going to engage? Broadly, the industry faces 3 problems. All of you will face broadly these same 3 problems. The first one is people. And Deanne earlier touched on it from Seek. First one is people. It's never been harder to recruit, retain, and elevate to a higher purpose people in the market. At the same time, customer experience and employee experience is proven to be absolutely critical, not only in retaining people, but also driving customer experience and sales and solutions. And now with the economic climate we're in, we're all under pressure to use our technology to either drive savings or to expand upon growth. So what I'm going to do over the next sort of 13, 14 minutes or so is go through 5 things that I believe you need to do and that smart organizations are doing, and what technology they're using to enable it. So the first one is absolutely know your customer. I posted on LinkedIn recently and said, well, if you don't know your customer, how can you love them and how can they love you? And that's what we're all trying to do, right? We're trying to build up these lifetime customer values and lifetime customer experience. And it's not enough to just know your customer, but you also have to act fastest. And certainly if you're on the retail side of the equation, you need to be able to act faster as a competitive differentiator. And if you're in government, you need to know your customer to drive CX that drives budget. And how do you do that? What's really important in doing this? Certainly having a data analytics strategy, capacity, and tools and technology to drive personalized and predictive experiences. We're in the age now of hyper-personalization, but we're rapidly moving to the age of prediction, where customers are saying, know me, know who I am, know what I want, know when I want it, deliver it the way I want it, and use the channel of my choice. And that data is becoming increasingly important and valuable due to the impending data apocalypse. The data apocalypse is being referred to by data analysts as this notion that you won't be able to use data unless you're intrinsically given it by your customer. And of course, all your decisions are going to be data and have to be data-based decision making. And where do you get that data from? It's not from one source within your business. Smart organizations are acknowledging they need to pull data from the customer side of things, from operations, from marketing, and even from the interactions that are underway. In the digital world, history is what happened 2 minutes ago. And smart companies are using all of that constantly to drive the right outcomes. And at the same time, the things that you're discovering with data, you need to be able to maximize that. How can you leverage that? And a great example is a company that's close to my heart. They actually weigh trains as they're going around the track for maintenance purposes. And of course, when the trains get heavy, it means there's lots of people on them. So they're now taking that data and pushing it out to citizens to say, hey, trains are slightly congested or they're heavily congested, and really driving that choice. I'll quickly cover off 3 other things: predictive routing and engagement. The notion of absolutely leveraging each call with the right demographics and the right data that you have about the person to connect them to the right agent. Or if they're driving down the self-service path, to interact with them using the language they want to use. And the next one I put in, journey mapping. I put in genuinely not knowing one of my colleagues was going to talk about it. It's absolutely critical that you can design out friction. And last but not least, biometrics. It's not just about ID and V, as important as identification and verification is. It's about shaving 30 seconds off the call, but it's about being able to hyper-personalize an experience moving forward on a self-service channel. In the last couple of years as an independent consultant, I wasn't completely surprised that a large number of the market is really confused around which contact center as a service or cloud solution should I invest in? And I've seen many examples where people have the equivalent of a Ferrari stuck in second gear, or, you know, in some circumstances, they bought a Ferrari and they really needed a four-wheel drive. So what are some of the things you should consider when looking at contact center as a service and the platform to support you? There's two broad choices. There's the, we've got it and it's all inclusive. And, you know, it's including your workforce management and your recording and routing and things like that. Or there's the notion of what you can do is buy a central piece and then bolt on all the bits you need. Two schools of thought there. One is, well, it's all inclusive, therefore I've got no integration risk. Downside is I'm going to compromise a little bit because I might not need some of this technology that I'm paying for. On the build versus bolt, but a build bolt-on piece is very much about being able to wrap the technology around your strategy and getting whatever it is exactly that you want. On the flip side, you do have to invest in those developers and designers. Critically, though, is the capacity, whichever way you go, to be able to integrate, to have the option to use best of breed or a sun and satellite kind of scenario where you can have a core but reach out to best of breed, for instance, workforce management solutions, and of course, integrate into your backend systems. A couple of things that are often overlooked is understanding the capacity, particularly in these times, for your vendor of choice to continue to invest in R&D. After all, you're investing in cloud to really put the onus on innovation and keeping up with that vendor and that supplier. So it's critical that you understand what do they invest in R&D and where's their business going. And the commercial models are very attractive, pay per use, but you've got to understand, is there a high watermark? Are you going to pay for the highest point for the whole month? When you bolt pieces on, it's critical to understand what that cost factor is when it's per second or per minute, because nothing will stop your project faster than going way over budget. Moving through quickly, understanding where they're at in terms of voice and digital capability. Digital should be probably in front of where they are with voice now. You know, voice is definitely not going away, but digital is critical. And there should be a degree of artificial intelligence, a much maligned word, but there should be some proactive pushing of information to you that you wouldn't know. And while we do have great companies selling from overseas into the market, I really believe you do need to have local partners. You do need to be able to reach out and touch to someone sometimes. And certainly table stakes in this space is low code, no code, being able to deploy the stuff quickly. Last but not least, we've got some behemoths moved into this space, Microsoft, Amazon, Google. It's worth considering what's the value to my business of the broader capability that someone might bring. And that's not to say we should move away from a best of breed capability, but it's certainly now a broader consideration. Okay, so we've got our data strategy correct. We've now got our contact center platform. How do you drive operational excellence? How do you shorten call times, reduce handling times, drive first call resolution, and importantly, get customer experience and employee experience where it needs to be? Critical here is knowledge management. Now, for some of you, knowledge management is still going to be, well, they all tap into a PDF. And others using quite traditional knowledge management systems, again, they might all tap into the system. What we're really seeing in the market now, though, is what I would call contextualized help. So this notion that there's something that's always on that's able to say to your agent, hey, looks like you're stuck. You need to say this and do this, either as a voice or on the screen. And if you're doing that for your agent, you are going to drive first call resolution. You are going to enhance governance. But if you're doing it for your agent, I'd say, well, why are you not empowering your customers? And your customers are on that self-service channel and they get stuck. What do? They call. So you've got a negative channel shift. You've got cost incurred in your business. And your poor agent's got a grudge call that no one really wanted to do. So smart companies are taking that knowledge management and they're now pushing it into the self-service channels to give the same kind of support and advice that your agents want and ask for and they absolutely need. This is becoming significantly important in working from home environments where you don't have line of sight to see the frustration an agent might have. They don't necessarily have access to turn and speak to someone straight away. So having this always on capability. And the second thing I touch on real briefly is workforce management. It's been seen in the past as a commodity, but increasingly, again, particularly with work from home and particularly with the challenge of us getting the most out of our people, it's now really, really critical. So the notion of being able to get the right call to the right person at the right time, and particularly where you've got multi-skilled agents and you've got highly skilled agents, you want them deployed at the time when they can have maximum impact. And yes, it's ideal for flattening, wait times and avalanche. It's also really, really good for identifying latency. And part of what you've got to do with workforce management is enable your employees to pick and choose shifts. Smart companies are really redefining what it means to be an employee and what employee experience is. Now, this one I could talk about all day, and I'm already running out of time, so I'm going to be really, really quite quick. Automation and augmentation. It's actually not about replacing people. It's about elevating your people to a higher value purpose, to giving them the tasks that they're best suited to do. And what I'm really seeing in the market is a strategy that's made up of, with all companies, in fact, are starting to say, well, what's my human strategy and what's my digital human strategy? They've really got two workforces. And the really big companies are saying, well, what's my human strategy? What's my digital human strategy? And what's my outsource strategy? Because they'll do that. And what do I mean by digital human? I'm really talking about conversational AI. I'm talking about the capacity to engage in a complex, multi-context, or even context-switching conversation. Man, that's a mouthful. And what do I mean by that? The example is calling up, talking to a conversational AI platform and saying, hey, I want a mortgage. I want 1.5 million. It's for my primary place of residence. And can you tell me what's the insurance going to be? And the platform, the conversational AI, being able to actually manage all of that context. And then partway through that conversation saying, actually, did I say it was for my investment property? I meant it's for my principal place of residence. And again, being able to handle that context shift. We're seeing that rise and rise and grow. And it's distinct to, but being driven by, I wasn't going to use brand names, but ChatGPT or large language models. Now, we're starting to use ChatGPT in our organization. We're using it for content generation, and we've initially started using it in service. But we're now actually starting to see capacity, and we're starting to roll it out in sales. And a really sort of cheesy example, if you will, is the notion of you're wanting a tent, for instance. And it's like, well, what kind of weather? Is weight important to you of the tent? Is it going to be wet where you're going? And really enabling them to drive that selection process and get the information. But the key with all of this is actually, when is the right time to inject a person? Is it at the point of sale? You don't want an abandoned cart. Or is it at a point where you've detected there's emotion, or you feel that the nature of this call is such that actually we do want a human involved? And that's probably the most important, ironically, the most important part in automation is the role that the people will play and when you'll play them. And I'll move quickly through the others, but let's not forget how back of the house processing impacts service and efficiency at the front of the house. So connecting conversational AI to RPA and understanding the process in between. And the example is going through a process of ordering a television. Wouldn't it be great? You're talking to or either by text or by voice, talking to a conversational AI application. You've now chosen your TV. They've gone off to the back end. They've identified the TV you want. And the conversation back to you is, hey, we've got that TV. We can deliver it on Wednesday, but the installer won't arrive till Friday. Would you like us to do both on Friday? How much time and efficiency would that save? Integrated outsourcing, again, I'll touch on it just very, very slightly. In the past, outsourcing kind of largely revolved around picking up a group of people and giving someone to run your business. Well, the outsourcers, particularly the successful ones, are doing all the things that I'm talking about. It's how outsourcers make money and drive efficiency. Integrated outsourcing is the notion of actually having people, your people, their people on your technology, or your people on their technology, conversely. So it's not just about the people, it's about the integration of the technology to support it. The last thing I'll talk about actually isn't to do with the technology. No amount of technology will make up for a poor culture. The thing I see in the market an awful lot is people talking to me about their strategy. I go, oh, what's your strategy? And they'll tell me about the data strategy or the digital strategy or the voice strategy. Unless it's all connected, it's suboptimal. unless there's a horizontal going through that for customer service, it's not going to deliver the absolute potential outcome that it could. And that's why I say, you know, design decisions are the ones that drive the best outcome. Design the experience you want and then work back through the friction and identify the friction and remove it. And I love nothing more than throwing a whole lot of people in a room and magic happens, but we know that can't always be the case. So you've got to underpin your teams with collaboration technology that enables real-time collaborations if they were in a room. And in some cases, it can be better than being in a room, but I like nothing more than getting a big group together. And of course, you need a multidisciplinary team able to respond to everything that the data produces and innovate and drive an agile way. And my last point is connectedness is no accident. We now talk about connecting to customers for lifetime customer experience. What's their lifetime customer experience? I talked a little bit before about CCaaS now, about some of these really large behemoths are now coming in with a CRM strategy, a CCaaS strategy, a biometric strategy, a conversational AI strategy. Connectedness is not going away. And on that point, I encourage you all, I'd love for you all to connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on the ACXPA, and we're here to help. Thank you.